pleasure for the second time to welcome you to the annual general meeting of the Academia Europaea, which is a legal obligation as we are a UK charity. And in this meeting, the trustees report to the members about the activities and future prospects. Several e-ballots have already been held for specific items, and these will be reported on at the appropriate agenda points. So an advance notice for this meeting was made via the e-newsletter system, and an announcement has been on the website, and all documents are available on the Academy's website, and there's a document package also available at the entrance of this hall. So my question now to those members present here physically in the auditorium is, can you adopt the agenda? Once more, please. Thank you very much. The agenda has been adopted. So we go over to item number 2, which is adoption of the minutes of the annual general meeting that was held here in Barcelona on the 21st of October last year. And this is a record for the file. It is not for discussion or questions. This is document 2. And I ask you, can the members present in the auditorium adopt the minutes of the 2021 annual meeting? Any objections? No. Thank you very much. The minutes of last year's meeting have been adopted. And now we go over to the transaction of ordinary business. Item number 3 covers the reports of the past 12 months. Item 3.1, this is the trustees' report on the activities undertaken in 2021, and here we have document 3.1. So this report describes the activities that were carried out in the name of our Academy during 2021 and forms a part of our legal reporting to the UK charity authorities. The trustees' report also contains individual reports from our regional knowledge hubs, and they will present their activities here on the podium a little bit later. And of course, the Graz data center is included in these reportings. A synopsis document has been developed by David, and it has been provided to you. And this synopsis document contains some financial information and information about the membership. So just to go through a couple of main highlights of the trustees' annual report. Last year, in 21, a return to a hybrid annual conference here in Barcelona was successful, though of course, naturally, the physical attendance numbers were not very high due to the pandemic. A number of virtual web events were supported through the Hubert Curien Fund and by external sponsors, and I will mention 2 of them. The Wroclaw Hub organized a symposium on iconoclasm, and the Hercules Group, Higher Education, Research and Culture in European Society Group, they organized a symposium. And all of these events are described in the trustees' report for you. Then over to our involvement in science policy activity through the SAPEA project. This continued and entered a second phase. We call it SAPEA Plus, and Professor Petersen will report on this a little bit later. And finally, the European Review continued to develop, and our editor-in-chief, Professor Theo Dean, he rotated out of this position of chief editor, and his successor as editor-in-chief of the European Review is Professor Alban Kellerbauer, and he will also report on the developments of the European Review a little bit later. So now I ask you, everybody, those present and also those logged in, whether you have any questions on the trustees' report. I do not see any hands here in the auditorium. And what about those logged in remotely? No hands apparent. So we adopt the trustees' report, and for your information, an e-ballot was conducted on the adoption of the 2021 trustees' report already earlier, and the report was approved by 146 votes against 2. So then we go over to the financial report. And this is now item 3.2. And I saw Oscar Mensers, our treasurer's name on the web. Are you there, Oscar?
Yes, okay. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do hear you and we do see you now. So welcome, Oscar, to the meeting. And now Oscar will summarize the financial report, and he will also report on the online ballot on adoption of the 2021 accounts. So Oscar, please cover these items, and then you will thereafter go to 3.2.1, which is on the examiners. So point 3.2, please, Oscar.
Thank you, Maria. It is a pleasure to participate in this annual event again. Unfortunately, not in person this year, but I hope to be able to be there in Barcelona with you again next year. So on the accounts, in 2021, we were emerging slowly from the impacts of the COVID-19 lockdowns and restrictions. The whole world, of course, was changing around us. And one of the outcomes of that was that we actually saved some money and managed to improve our finances a little bit. Member subscriptions is showing a year-on-year increase as well. So the last year or two has actually been very positive on the account side for Academia Europaea. So the increase in member fees is shown also in my notes to the accounts and in the slides. The predicted 2022 end of year member income is in the region of 270,000 euros net of bank charges. And we of course expect that to rise in the future as well. Korean fund allocation to Ukraine scholars support schemes was set up in 2021. And in 2022, we have provided 18,000 euros already to fund schemes in the Wrocław hub and in the Tbilisi hub. There's also a large scheme operating through the Hungarian Academy of Sciences that we're supporting, but no money has been paid out yet or requested. So this is ongoing. The Korean fund was also used to support small events organized by individual members and the hubs, and we hope to continue to be able to do that. There's an open call for any members to put forward proposals for small grants for this scheme. I would like to encourage everybody here to think about what these could be and then to put forward these proposals so we can continue these efforts. We have a continuing reduction in governance costs. This was, of course, also due to COVID-19, due to virtual meetings and especially Board of Trustees and other activities that have been moving online. We should expect to see a return to more physical events in 2022 and beyond, of course. The reserves at the end of 2021 were 142,000 euros of unrestricted cash. And also interesting to report, and really very positive, is that the publication of the Journal of European Review operates at the break-even. So that doesn't add any negatives to our accounts or cash flow. On the downside, this year we lost our two remaining core sponsors who have ended their financial support. We are pleased to record our thanks to the Barcelona sponsors and the Leopoldina. So this is removing 70,000 euros per year of unrestricted income from our balance sheet, which means that we are now totally reliant on members to pay their membership fees, maybe to consider signing up for, oh, there's some issue with the slides. If you could move the slides forward, maybe that would be great, and show them. But the slides and the reports are available in the materials of this meeting, and I would like to encourage everybody to have a close look. We don't want to go over all of the details, but yes. So back to total reliance on our member fees, and so really want to encourage everybody to consider maybe paying for the lifetime membership, or if they haven't paid in the past, to consider starting to pay their membership fees for next year. There is also an ongoing weakness in the sterling, and this created a book loss of £39,448 in 2021. But this is, of course, due to foreign exchange loss, and it's going to fluctuate in the future, of course. We are keeping pounds and euros separately, and there is going to be accounting variation due to the fluctuation of currencies that we are witnessing these months. All our EU-related projects, of course, are done in euros. Some special notes on the accounts. Note 6 to the accounts on page 11 describes the charitable activities that our funds were allocated to. This is important as we are a charity and need to continue to fund such activities and focus our efforts on finding them and evaluating which ones to go with. In particular, here we have the Condorosci Awards, Sapea, Heinz Nixdorf, and Reichsbanken are all restricted funds that can only be used for certain purposes. These funds received for dedicated purposes and can only be used for those purposes are held separately, each one by itself. The Balzan Fund is also a restricted fund that we hold on behalf of Professor Condorosci, the Balzan Prize that she won, and that is used to support her own research activities. I would like to ask the minutes to record thanks to a number of sponsors of our events. We have the Heinz Nixdorf Foundation for their continued support to the Erasmus Medal. We have Professor Eva Condorosci as benefactor of the Adam Condorosci Plant Sciences Awards. We have the Sverige Riksbanken Jubileumsfond from Sweden for their sponsorship of the Wroclaw Hub activities in 2021 and 22. We have the Werner Gren Foundation for their support to the Hercules Group Symposium Series and open access supplements to the European Review. And we have the European Commission Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe programs for support of Sapea, Sapea Plus, and also recently to the UK research funding agencies who are providing the funds to allow Academia Europaea to continue to participate in the current Sapea project. I certainly personally hope that the whole discrepancy between Europe and the United Kingdom will be resolved, and that the participation in European project is going to be simplified in the future. There is also a separate note relating to Sapea and where we gain some overhead for our participation in that project. So there are some formal things that I need to report as well. First of all, I would like to report on the outcome of the e-ballot of members to approve the 2021 examined accounts. The proposal to approve the accounts was passed by 146 votes for and 2 votes against. I also want to report on the result of the e-ballot to reappoint our examiners, Keith Baudry and Company Limited. The proposal was approved by 144 votes to 1. And finally, I would like to report on the e-ballot recommending that members approve the membership fees for 2023, as set out as we have in the agenda. And that proposal was approved by 141 votes to 5. So that concludes my report, and I welcome some questions, and happy to hand back to our chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, we have one hand up, do we? Here? But I cannot see the name. Oh, we cannot, there is no voice connection. We cannot hear the question. So we have here a technical problem. Maybe it can be solved, but we have to go on with the agenda. So once more, Oscar, thank you very much. And what I was saying was that his slides are also available there with the financial report document 3.2. So we move to item 4, which is elections and approvals. Item 4.1, Oscar Menser is stepping down as treasurer at the end of this year. And we have been very grateful, Oscar, for your support, and especially during this difficult period of the pandemic. Thank you, Oscar. 4.2, election of officers and trustees. And number 1 here is election of Academia Europea's vice president. You recall that Genoveva Marti was holding the position of elected vice president, and she resigned of this position, and now we have conducted the election of her replacement. Document 4.2.1 in your package describes the process of the election and the board decision to propose a single candidate. And this single candidate is Professor Don Dingwell. Now, according to our statutes, we could have 1, 2, or 3 elected vice presidents, but the board decided on 1. Professor Dingwell, would you like to say a few words of introduction to the members? Please come up to the podium.
Good morning. Thanks very much for being in attendance this morning after a lovely time last evening. Just a few words about the motivation for stepping into a role as Vice President of the Academia Europaea. We're at a very interesting time for the Academia Europaea. We, of course, are on the cusp of the transition from our old president, our past president, Siert Klooting, who put us in an excellent position to go forward into the future, and of course our new president, Maria Makarov, who is now, as you see in the last minutes and in the last days, robustly continuing on with the tradition of very, very qualified and thoughtful leadership of the Academy. We are also, as you know, in a point of renewal of the Barcelona hub, and at that juncture, the decision has been made, as you will hear again later today, and I think you heard referred to yesterday, that the next meeting will be in Munich next year in October. And this is a culmination of efforts and thoughts at the Munich hub, which have been going on now for over a year, as to how we will try to improve upon the already excellent performance that we've seen in the past years in Barcelona, and for which we are extremely, extremely grateful to the Barcelona hub. We are also, as if that were not enough, we also have 2 very important other things on our plate. In the coming couple of years, we will have a very thoughtful reflection on how the organizational structure of Academia Europaea goes forward, also with respect to, if I may say the word in this room, Brexit. And therefore, the conversations that will take place at the table of the board and that will be presented to the council will also cope, hopefully, with a positive future of relationships to the UK with regard to Academia Europaea, but we will be ready for any potential relationship which ensues between the EU and the United Kingdom. There is also the SAPEA follow-up program. SAPEA involvement of the Academia Europaea is something that started several years ago when the initiative was grasped by Siert Klooting to cement our involvement in the SAPEA measure. This was an extremely important step in the history of the Academia Europaea because suddenly we were thrust into unquestionable, the key word, legitimacy as the Academy of Europe. And we have to maintain this status, and therefore major efforts are being made on the part of many members of the board to ensure that if and how there will be a SAPEA follow-up program, that we will be at the table. And that will be a major part of the work which is involved during the time that I would be willing to be vice president of the Academia Europaea. The last point that I'd like to refer to is that we have a wonderful panoply of hubs within the Academia Europaea. Each one of them works differently in detail. Each one of them has in detail a different agreement with the central of the Academia Europaea. And I want to push in 2023 that we initiate a series of regular meetings of the hub directors or their representatives. Won't be easy, but we will try to do it so that we make sure not that we are all marching in lockstep with the same structures in an unnecessarily over-centralized and over-regulated way. That's not the idea, but to ensure that we're not stepping on each other's feet or duplicating any kind of activity, any kind of redundancy in what we do for the Academy. So I'm very optimistic that there's an appetite for this conversation, and I'll be very happy to lead that as a part of my vice presidency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Don. Before you leave the room, are there any questions to Don? Comments? In the hall or elsewhere, I cannot see any hands. Sorry. So, Don, thank you very much. And could I ask you, please, to leave the room? So, Don has left the room, and we can proceed to the election by the members present in the auditorium. So, do any members present oppose the appointment of Professor Dingwall as a vice president of Academia Europaea? If anybody opposes, please raise your hand. No opposition, a consensus of appointing Professor Don Dingwall as Vice President of Academia Europaea. Thank you very much. And I should probably, before Don enters the room, declare that the annual general meeting of 2022 has approved the election of Donald Dingwall as a Vice President of Academia Europaea for a period of 3 years with immediate effect. Thank you very much, and let's call Don in. Is there anybody? Oh, David is running around. Yes. Okay. Wait, please wait. Thank you and congratulations, Don. Consensus decision. We proceed to item 422, election of treasurer. Document 422 explains the process and information about the candidate. Professor Stephen Evans was the only candidate, therefore no e-ballot is needed. Professor Evans, could you please step up on the podium and kindly introduce yourself and comment on your track record and experience in tasks relevant to the treasurer's tasks. Please, Steve.
Good morning, everyone. Don, that was a fantastic explanation of the context that's in front of us. I think that that famous quote, "We live in interesting times," is very relevant. And I think it would be a great privilege to join the leadership of the Academy during this period of navigating these challenging times. I'd just like to explain a little bit about myself. I'm an engineer trying to answer the question, how can we build a sustainable world at the speed and scale that the planet needs? So it's a very practical question. It's a translational question. My team of researchers includes engineers and social scientists, computing scientists, policy researchers, etc. So I'm really interested in the mechanism of research about how do we bring disciplines together to solve really key challenges. I hope that that will be something that I can offer the leadership of the Academy as we go forward. But the key thing about a treasurer, the two key things are that they can count and they have no current criminal record. And I can assure you of at least one of those is true. No, both are true, of course. I spend a lot of my time interacting with industry, so my work is very translational. We work in practice, so I spend time with senior decision makers, governmental organizations, trying to find a path forward towards a sustainable world. And I do hope that that experience can also be brought to bear to the benefit of the Academy. I really enjoy being an active member, and I hope you can let me join you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll go.
And please leave the room. Okay. Do any members present oppose the appointment of Professor Stephen Evans as treasurer? Please raise your hand if you oppose. I see no hands, so we have a consensus decision. I declare that Stephen Evans has been elected as treasurer from 1st of January 2023 for a period of 3 years. Thank you. Congratulations, Steve. We go over to item 423. This is about confirmation of the terms for co-opted trustees. Our statutes and regulations require the members at an annual general meeting to approve the period of appointment of co-opted trustees. And there's the document 423 on this item. The class chairs are appointed for 3 years, so they form a group of their own, the 4 class chairs. And then we have the other group of trustees, co-opted trustees, and we need to consolidate their terms. So this would be Ole Pettersen, and his term would be till the end of 2023. Eystein Jansen, his term would be till end of 2024, and Milena Zig-Fuchs' term till 2025, the end of 2025. Can we approve these terms of the co-opted trustees? Any opposition? No? This has now been approved. Thank you very much. And this completes the ordinary business of this meeting. And now we move on to reports. And first we will start with science advice in the context of SAPEA Plus. And Ole Pettersen, please come up to the podium to report.
Thank you very much, President. There should be slides. Yes, here we are. We can move on to the next slide immediately. So in 2016, Academia Europaea was together with several other pan-European organizations invited to create organizations that could help the European Commission with scientific advice. The name SAPER was adopted at a meeting at the Royal Netherlands Academy early in 2017. Seert Klötting, our president at that time, played a decisive role at that point. And the name SAPER stands obviously for Science Advice for Policy by European Academies. So the name is quite important. It's Science for Policy. It's not policy for science. So Academia Europaea, in this way, became central to the new scientific advice mechanism that had been essentially created by the then Director General of the Science Directorate, Robert Jan Smits, who, of course, is a member of our academy and gave the gold medal lecture some years ago. So Seert Klötting decided, which made my life a bit more busy, that the Cardiff Hub was the part of Academia Europaea that would coordinate the Academy's contribution to SAPER. So the scheme of SAPER is here shown on the slide. What's sort of the standard procedure, so to speak, is that there's a question coming from the Commission, typically from one of the directorates. This goes to the SAPER board, which consists of the presidents of the academies that are involved in this process, of which Academia Europaea is one. The SAPER board then decides which of the pan-European networks should be the lead academy in a particular case. So if it is Academia Europaea that is selected as the lead academy by the SAPER board, then the Cardiff Hub will start coordinating activities. And so typically there could be a question. For example, the very first question we received was how we could, in a sustainable way, increase the production of food from the oceans. Then we take the initiative to setting up an expert group. We invite nominations from not only the membership of Academia Europaea, but also from a lot of other academies. So a deadline is set, and we get a substantial number of nominations. And this has been a very satisfactory process, actually, because we have had lots of nominations from Academy members. So it shows that Academia Europaea is actually very capable of mobilizing experts in the area. It doesn't mean that all the experts are necessarily members of our academy, but nominations will come from the academy. So we have shown that we are capable of finding experts, and also that these members are enthusiastic about proposing members, and sometimes themselves or other academy members. And because it is seen as an important task to advise the Commission, and also because when advice is asked for, there is a reasonable chance that it will have an impact, because we have automatically customers who want to know our advice. So the task for the Academy in such a case, for example, is then to produce what we call an evidence review report. So the expert group gets together. Before the pandemic, it was done physically. During the pandemic, of course, it was Zoom meetings. And I think now in the future, it will probably be a mixture of the two. So a number of meetings are held, and gradually a report emerges. Coordination, even though the SAPER is formally and in reality independent, and it's very important to understand that the evidence review report, that is ultimately the result of the work of the working group, the only organization that has the approval of it is the SAPER board. So we are not sort of having to seek approval from the Commission or from anybody else. The only body that has to put its imprimatur on the report is the SAPER board. However, it obviously makes sense to coordinate because the evidence review report is not the only component of what comes back to the Commission. There is another body which is also illustrated here, namely the group of chief scientific advisors. And we are happy that currently one of the chief scientific advisors is Professor Eva Conte-Rosi, who is of course also a member of the Academia Europaea board. So the group of chief scientific advisors is a group of eminent scientists who have been appointed directly by the Commission to provide advice to the Commission. So we have actually two elements of the scientific advice mechanism. We have SAPER, these independent European academies that form this consortium, and we have the group of chief scientific advisors. The SAPER part of it produces the evidence review report. So it's not a report that specifically is supposed to give advice about what should happen. It's a report that summarizes the evidence such as it is, and sometimes in some areas, of course, the evidence base is far from complete. But anyway, the evidence review report is supposed to summarize what we know, and also, of course, to emphasize what we do not know. And this evidence review report can and should, in my opinion, and mostly it is done, provide options. So it may say, well, you could do this, but this might have these consequences, positive or negative, or you could do that, and again, look at this. The job of the scientific advisors is then to produce the scientific opinion. So on the basis of the evidence review report, the group of chief scientific advisors, and usually there will be a lead scientific advisor associated with each project, they will, on the basis of the evidence, come forward with an actual opinion about what should happen. And the two reports, the scientific opinion and the evidence review report, should ideally, and this is mostly done, be published at the same time. So these together then actually present the advice that the Commission can use. They can do, of course, whatever they want with it, or the European Parliament may use. The important point is that in contrast to previous scientific advice mechanism based basically on a single chief scientific advisor, the reports, both the evidence review report and the scientific opinion, are in the public domain. So they are published. And this, I think, is the most important step that also differentiates the process from what happens in many individual countries. The UK, for example, has a well-established scientific advice mechanism, but it is not open to scrutiny by the public. But here we have this situation. So that's basically how things work. And finally, there is the policy challenge. In terms of impact, which people always ask about, then one has to say, of course, that still it's a relatively young mechanism, and probably it is still early days in terms of totally appreciating what the actual impact is. Let's see whether we can go to the next slide. I think maybe we jumped over. Okay. So, as I said, we established SAPER in 2016. The first period was from 16 to in early part of this year. So we have already done one complete period. We are now in the second SAPER period for various reasons, which mostly have to do with the money. It's a relatively short period at the moment. But obviously it is clear that the intention is that it should continue. So it's basically just a question of how the Commission appropriates funding. But so just now we are in the still early part of the second funding period for SAPER, and this is then funded until the end of 24. The formal arrangement in this second period is a little bit different from what it was in the first period. Also, the partners are not identical to before. In the first period, one of the partners was ESAC, European Science Advice Council, but they have disappeared because they basically did not have a sound basis for their future, and they're still working to sort this out. On the other hand, we have had the very valuable addition of the young academies, and this, I think, again, Academia Europaea, and particularly Seth Klöting, deserves a lot of credit for having made that happen. And I think we all agree that this is a really very important element of what now happens in SAPEA. So the Young Academies of Europe, led by the Young Academy of Europe, got together and formed an organization which in short is the IASAS, and they are now one of the main partners in the consortium. As far as Academia Europaea is concerned, there's again an important change in this current period from what happened in the previous period. So as I mentioned before, Seth Klöting decided that the Cardiff Hub was going to be the deliverer of Academia Europaea's work. And originally, Academia Europaea was the main partner, and Cardiff Hub was a kind of element of that. But for various formal reasons, as you can see on this slide here, the situation currently is that Academia Europaea and Academia Europaea Cardiff Hub are both individually partners in the project. So there is an important difference, and this is potentially important for what will happen in the future. It means that there can be a dissociation of these two elements, which in view of Brexit may turn out to be of some importance. Also, another new thing is that Academia Europaea's hub in Bergen is now formally a part and is playing a bigger role in the current period than it did in the previous period, and we envisage a close collaboration between the Cardiff Hub and the Bergen Hub. Financially, there is also an important change in the first period of SAPEA funding. We were funded, obviously, in exactly the same way as our other partners by the grant from the Horizon program. However, because of Brexit, this has changed in the current period. There was obviously some considerable worry, one could say, about how it would actually function. In the end, so far, things turned out okay, because in spite of the fact that UK is now not able currently to obtain funding from the Horizon program, because the UK is still not associated with the Horizon program, although it is still the wish of the UK government that it should be so, but at the moment it is blocked for political reasons. It turned out that the UK was willing to step in and provide the funding for Academia Europaea and for the Academia Europaea Cardiff Hub that could not come directly from the Horizon program. And so we have actually got exactly the same funding as we would have got if we had been part of the Horizon program. But at the moment, the funding both for Academia Europaea London and for Academia Europaea Cardiff comes from the UK government, from Innovate UK. So all of that is in this period, and that period ends at the end of 24. Clearly, because the period is so short, we already now have to think quite carefully about how things continue from January 2025. And the process is already beginning to start. And again, because of Brexit and because of the uncertainty about whether the UK will eventually manage to be associated with the Horizon program, there clearly are a number of uncertainties and there are a number of different scenarios. And it will be an important job for the Academia Europaea board and advised by the international advisory group that has been established under the chairmanship of Kjeld Klødning to come to a conclusion relatively soon about exactly how we proceed. It's obviously important. I mean, SAPER is not the only activity by any means of Academia Europaea, but it is an important activity. It is fairly visible, and clearly it is would not be a good thing for Academia Europaea not to be part of the mechanism and not to be seen to be part of the advice mechanism. Okay, it seems, I think there were some more slides, but somehow they, yeah, I thought there was another slide. So this just to summarize in a sense what SAPER has achieved up to now. You see the projects, most of the projects were in response, as I already mentioned, to a request from the Commission, but there have also been a few that are so-called bottom-up projects, which were suggested by SAPER, by each of the organizations. Academia Europaea has led as lead academy 3 of these reports. The very first one, Food from the Oceans, and that was actually quite important because that first process of providing an evidence review report became essentially a blueprint for how to do it in the future. And we established, in a sense, the whole framework for how this should be progressed. The next one that Academia Europaea led was making sense of science in the bottom left part of the diagram. That was a somewhat special project because it did not come specifically from the Commission, but actually came from the chief scientific advisors who wanted to have a report about this more general aspect. And the next one that Academia Europaea led was biodegradability of plastics, particularly focused on biodegradable plastics, the solution to the general plastics problem. However, and that's a very important point, this is not the only contribution of Academia Europaea. So although we led more projects than any of the other networks, we have also actually provided very important support to quite a number of the other projects. And so there are some unique capabilities of Cardiff Hub because of the fact that it is embedded in a big university. And there are 2 aspects to this. One is that the Cardiff University Library has a long and well-established track record in producing systematic reviews. And this has turned out, to the surprise of quite a few people, to be a quite important element of all productions of evidence review reports. And the Commission is actually very keen on seeing these systematic reviews as also another part of the evidence base. Sometimes it has turned out not to be practical to produce a real proper systematic review, and the library is also quite experienced in producing shorter literature reviews. And so, for example, in a very many of these projects here, including the latest one, cancer screening, Cardiff Hub has actually, although not being the lead academy in a formal sense, but has actually provided a major part of the evidence base. Another capability of Cardiff University is that it has a center for documentation of policy, and it is capable of relatively quickly assembling all documentation relating to the policy elements of a particular subject. So if you want to know in a particular subject what actually is there in terms of policy documents, they have the routine and the expertise in relatively quickly assembling that. And again, because ultimately, of course, we are aiming at producing evidence that can be used for policy making. And that again is an important capability of the Cardiff Hub. So currently, the Cardiff Hub is seen by everyone, and this has become clear also at various meetings that have taken place over the last few days here in Barcelona, has unique capabilities that the other networks do not have. And therefore, in spite of all the Brexit-related problems, which of course are very considerable, there is a consensus that somehow, whatever framework we do it in terms of finance and so on, the advice from the Cardiff Hub is very important. I should here pay tribute to the manager of the Cardiff Hub, Louise Edwards, who has been a phenomenal success in SAPEA and has acquired quite a substantial reputation also in Brussels for her competence and energy in promoting this report. So yeah, this basically just summarizes what I already said, the contribution also in other projects that were not formally led by Academia Europaea, but where the Academy actually provided essential support. Of course, there's also, and that is important, also an important outreach part of SAPEA, and that's also part of the contract we have with the Commission. It's not only just providing the evidence review reports, but there's also a way of promoting the evidence review reports, because in many areas, of course, we will only have an impact on policy making if the general public is, at least to some extent, mobilized and understand what the problems are. So in each case, there is a considerable outreach effect, which is also funded by the SAPEA program. A number of webinars, of course, in the pandemic period were created before that, and now there will also be a number of physical events. And in this, we cooperate closely with a number of other organizations, and some of them here are listed on this slide. Academia Europaea also, there are various work packages that usually are with the European projects, and one element that Academia Europaea is involved in is the so-called sustainability plan. So it's also part of the contract that we have with the Commission, that not only do we have to deliver what we are being asked to deliver, but we also have to work out how this SAPEA project can continue. And that's a particular responsibility of Academia Europaea, and this particular work will be led by our president, Martin Makarov, in this period. So I think that probably constitutes more or less, yeah, I mean, there are a number of different individual events, which I will not go in detail with, and I think this has already basically been covered by what I talked about. So I think that's basically my report on the SAPEA activities.
Thank you very much, Ole. Are there perhaps questions, comments from the floor? Yes, please, Lars. The microphone is coming. Just wait a second, please.
Thank you. I have one small point I would like to comment on, but first I would like to congratulate Ole Petersen and the Cardiff Hub and Seared Clothing for the excellent work you have been doing with SAPEA. And but the small point I would like to raise is, of course, one of the slides which was not shown today but yesterday, but you mentioned it, that one of the organizations participating in SAPEA in 1 had disappeared in SAPEA 2. That's ESAC. And I think there are many reasons for this, but the main reason was, as I understand it, the lack of that ESAC was not a legal entity, and that had to be solved. The legal entity in the first SAPEA period was Leopoldina, which was hosting for ESAC. And now, since Leopoldina is not longer any host for ESAC, there were no legal organization. I just have to inform you that the Norwegian Academy of Science and Letters has signed the contract now and are the legal entity necessary. So ESAC can still be invited and has been invited to join also the second phase of SAPEA. And I hope this will not cause any problems. Of course, there are other differences between the science advice given by ESAC, and ESAC was, of course, important before SAPEA was established, for at least 10 years before that time, and still does some science advice work, little different from what you find in SAPEA, in the sense that it usually concludes with action advice, not only summarize the evidence. But this, of course, we can have different opinions on this, but I think both mechanisms are necessary in the future world in Europe. But I hope that this will be solved so that ESAC can also, now in the SAPEA 2, and hopefully also in if there will be a continuation after 2024, that ESAC will still be one of the members of the group behind the SAPEA reports. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this good news concerning ESAC.
Yeah, this is very useful information. Thank you very much, Lars, for that. And of course, it was envisaged all the time that if ESAC were able to solve its particular problem of finding a host who could be the legal entity, then they would be able to come in again. It's not part of the contract at the moment, but of course an amendment can be made and may well happen. So this is relatively new information, and we'll do that. But I mean, the opinion of the SAPEA board was all the time that we would want ESAC to be incorporated. And it looks from what you say that this may be possible. Of course, because the current funding period is so short, I don't quite know whether it will be feasible to incorporate them already in the current period, but probably it may be possible to do that from the beginning of January 25. As we have seen, SAPEA is capable of slightly reconfiguring itself from one stage to another one, and it may very well happen again. What the whole ESAC affair illustrates, and I think that's the important thing for us here as members of Academia Europaea, is that it is not a permanent establishment. So you are in, but can happen that if circumstances are not properly taken care of, then you are certainly not there. And the ESAC example shows the danger of not early enough, perhaps having found the right solution. So I think that's the take-home message from the whole of this, that we have to think, and we have to be proactive, and we have to make sure that we organizationally and formally are in a situation where we actually can be sure that we are part of the continuation from January 25.
Thank you. I see 3 hands on my screen. I'm sorry, I cannot see the full names. So, Palne Kovacs, do you wish to say something?
No,
Maybe
sorry, it was only a mistake. Sorry.
Okay. Then I saw, at least, now I don't see, the name Mihailo. Please.
Yes.
You want to take the floor?
No, I have no comment.
Go ahead, please. Yes. Please. No comments. Okay, sorry.
I said I have no comment.
Okay, thank you very much. I misheard you. Then I see the name Dan Xu Song. Do you wish to say something?
No, thanks.
Okay. So anybody else on the screen? No. So I think this completes your report, Ole. Thank you very, very much. Then we go over to item 6, which is the regional knowledge hubs presentations on their activities over the past 12 years. And we have 6 out of our 7 hubs presenting. The one which is not presenting is the Munich hub because it's a new hub. So the order of the presentations is Barcelona, Bergen, Cardiff, Wrocław, Tbilisi, and Budapest. So we start with Barcelona. Who is going to come up to the podium to present? Yes, Ricard.
Well, thank you, President. If you go to London and you look for the St. Paul Cathedral, you are looking for the House Christopher Wren. And very down in the crypt is a small stone telling, if you look for Monumentum Meum, my epitaph, look around, circumspected. So the whole cathedral is the monument of Christopher Wren. Well, this is just because to see what this hub did was in the last year, look around. Look, we are very thankful to the PREB. You see the logos, which are very significant, and I think it's a brand that we can pass to the next organizers of the Congress, because it's very symbolic. It's to make the program, it's not easy, because we have class meetings, we have this assembly, you have the plenary meetings, and you have all other things. So to maintain all together, we started the name Building Bridges. Building bridges because it's a lot of meaning of this. We are using a lot the M letter and also the typical typography of Art Nouveau. You will see every round. This is made by one member of the staff, and also the coincidence, the letter M is very important because it's the origin of all typographical families, but also is the initial name of Mediterranean. And this thing that you see under the letter is the Mediterranean. It's very, very small. So this is the meaning of this. We are Mediterranean, but we are serving the Academia Europea. This is, I can only say, the thanks to the presidents that we have for 9 years. We have 10, in fact. Last Wallow, it was helping us a lot. After was Sir Clutin, and after I must say that we were in straight connection, especially with the executive secretary that I paid homage here, David Coate, and only his team. So I remember Teresa McGovern, but it is not here, but this is special. So I would like to also to thank the staff of the hub. The staff, it was, well, the main person is Ruben Duro. This is the webmaster, and a lot is very rather important documentalist with programs in TV, etc., etc. Only occasionally is photographer that is coming here, but he's making very nice with thousands, millions of visions of the program. But also Carmen Chica, that was around, very effective for me. Also Mercedes Berlanga, and also Mercé Piquera. So is this. But belonging to the staff, we must thank from here the work, the difficult work of Alexander Fedora. Thanks to him, everything was organized in the classes, which is not easy, as you must say. And this is, we are very grateful from the staff. Thank you to you. And just to say that we expected problems with this, the number of delegates. The record, I think, the all-time records of these meetings, it's 33 or something like that, it was 2019, in which we have more than 270. It's a real record. But this year was very difficult. We are in the pandemic, we have a war, and we have also economic problems, reluctance to travel. So we expected very, very low. But we already, by now, we have 230 delegates belonging to 33 countries, which I think is a good thing to have, and thank you also you that are here present, and also people is following us, and especially just last but not least, I would like to thank the PRB because it's a nice landscape here, the most beautiful looking at the Mediterranean, which is the typical thing, and good weather. Thanks God for the good weather because it was also this, and especially also to manage the company, Maria Jose Gallego, Monica McKay, they were wonderful. They worked like they are 80% of the reason of the success of this. They are perfect, and so thank you to all of you. And I think that you can trust in the hub of Barcelona is to serve the Academia Europea. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ricard. And before we hear about the Bergen Hub's activities, I would like to, Ricard, thank you. So you are now stepping down of the position of academic director of the Barcelona Hub, and you have been there since 2014. And your hub is especially serving the Southern Europe and the Mediterranean region, so it fulfills this mission of regional knowledge hub. And your mission has been to organize events, scientific events, activities that cut across disciplines, and you have paid special attention to humanities and social sciences. So to name examples of events and activities that you have been establishing here and running is the Disputatio series. It's the Women's Week, an annual event. You have organized activities between Spanish and other Mediterranean institutions. And of course, the Building Bridges conference now for the 4th time. And very importantly, again, sort of focusing on the region is the collaboration that you established with the Barcelona City Council. And together with the City Council, you have established the annual Barcelona Hypatia European Science Prize. And we will tonight celebrate the 3rd laureate of this prize. So, dear Ricard, the entire Academia Europea community wishes to thank you very, very warmly for your outstanding contributions to European science, to the Academy, to Barcelona as a science city, and to the Mediterranean region. Thank you very much. The board has appointed a successor for Ricard, Professor Jaume Bertrand Petit. Are you in the hall? Yes. So we will address you later after the hub's presentations. All right. So let's get back to the agenda. And now we have the Bergen Hub presenting, please.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Closer to the mic.
I represent the Bergen Knowledge Hub. Here's a picture of Bergen, iconic part of Bergen. We are covering the Nordic and Baltic countries.
Just a second, the technician wants to fix something.
No? We are hosted by the University of Bergen. They finance us. And our director, our leader, is Professor Øystein Jansen. This is him. He couldn't be here because he is, amongst other things, a member of the ERC Scientific Council. They have meetings today. He is a professor in climatology, amongst other things. This is the hub administration. It's me in approximately 50% position, and it's Nils Olav Sæverås who's also here today. So it's 100% positioned together. We have a strategic plan focusing on Arctic, sustainability, marine, and welfare state issues predominantly. And within this, we have certain priorities. You can see here, science policy interface is one of them, and we try to engage as much as we can in SAPEA that Ola told you about. Some of our activities, we have given support to we will hear more about later today, the Academia Europaea Task Force on Environment, Climate and Sustainability. That was quite a lot of work to provide, amongst others, a member survey. This is just one example of how we try to engage in SAPEA. This was a local outreach seminar in Norway about the biodegradable plastics. We had a visit by the academic director of the Hungarian hub, Laszlo Lovak. He also won the Abel Prize in mathematics, and we co-organized a lecture, and we also had discussions on potential hub-to-hub cooperation earlier this year. This is one thing we do regularly. There's a Rosendal Week. It's a conference or forum, and when here you see the Øystein Jansen together with one minister from Norway. He had, they both participated in panel debate. We had very prominent visit from Sir earlier this year too, and he participated in several workshops that we helped organize, and we had dinners, and we also did an interview. Nils Olav did an interview with him that you can find on the Academia Europaea main homepage too. We have a local steering group to help inspire us, provide ideas, and also, we hope to engage even more. Many of these are members of Academia Europaea, but not everyone. We have an advisory board. You might recognize some of the faces and names here. So we meet once a year, approximately, with them, twice a year with the steering group. So this is just some of upcoming events. We have a seminar with the Norwegian Academy of Science and Letters. They have a meeting in Bergen. We have helped organize the program, Triple Threats to Our Oceans. We are partner of something called Arctic Frontiers. It's an arena for Arctic issues with both public organizations, businesses, and research. And every year we have side event or some kind of event there. So the picture you see is from last year. We had one on deep sea mining, but this year we have proposed an event on the effect of Arctic cooperation due to side effects of the war in Ukraine. We have also, as you see, the picture of some of the members of Young Academy. We have signed a memorandum of understanding that our hub will provide some administrative support for the Young Academy they don't have any other administrative support. So we will so we will have a meeting soon with the new board. We have also some ongoing lecture series. I won't go into that. And hopefully, maybe we will be visited by the Estonian Academy of Science. We are not quite happy about how much we managed to engage with the other Nordic countries and Baltic countries. But we have connections with the Estonian Academy of Sciences. Membership issues. Øystein Jansen, he's very active in nominating or facilitating nomination of members. He thinks there is a really necessary to improve the gender balance, and also to use members in our region to create activities also. Yeah. And we have newsletters, we are on social media, and we also have a video of our hub with that we are proud has had 4,000 views. So
thank you very much. Thank you. I see on my screen one hand with the words Christian's iPad. Christian, are you there? Do you wish to comment or ask something? Apparently not. Anybody else here wish to comment, ask something? No? Okay, thank you once more. And we move over to the Cardiff Hub, and we will hear about their other activities besides the SAPEA project. Please, Ole.
There should be some slides again here. Here they are. So yes, we do indeed also do quite a few other things than work for SAPEA, although one cannot deny that this has been the main activity of the Cardiff Hub. The Cardiff Hub was established basically in 2015, and we cannot thank CERT enough for having taken the initiative here. CERT Clothing came to Cardiff in 2015 and gave a lecture which was extremely important in the university. It was an enormous audience that came to CERT's lecture. We had very helpful meetings with the Vice-Chancellor, the President of Cardiff University, and I think the impression that CERT made there made the Vice-Chancellor extremely enthusiastic about establishing the hub, and that enthusiasm has been maintained. So every time we had to renew the hub, it has actually been a very smooth and very quick process because he was so convinced by CERT's arguments. So we are still benefited here quite a few years later after your visit from just the great impact that made. So yeah, the priorities are written here. This is relatively a kind of obvious things. SAPEA project has already been dealt with. We have another project that is funded by the European Commission, the Calibre project. This arose out of our close collaboration with the Young Academy of Europe. So this is a project to improve gender equality with a particular focus on certain European countries. And this is a project that is funded actually by the Horizon 2020 project and will still go on until the end of 23. So that also, this is largely a question of promotion and of creating a number of videos that are useful in this process. And we have engaged a particular individual, Alice Sadler, who is actually here at this meeting in Barcelona and will conduct interviews with quite a few of you during the meeting. Ukraine, we have been engaged in this and very pleased that we have a new member from Ukraine elected at this meeting, who unfortunately could not be here for obvious reasons. But Yaroslav Shuba, who is a person I've known for many years at the Ukrainian National Academy Institute of Physiology, is an excellent active physiologist, and I think in the future we will benefit quite a bit from his presence. We have a number of so-called briefing series which we issue, which of course are on the web. We have actually a very active website that you can all go to very easily. Just put Academia Europaea Cardiff into Google and the website will come up. And as I say, we do a number of things there which you can see. So we have a very active interview series, and several people here in this room have been kind enough to allow themselves to be interviewed, including our president quite recently, CERT of course, but also, as you can see on the slide, quite a few other individuals, and that series is still very actively going on. We have also obviously been forced into a lot of webinar activities, and again we have quite a few of them which were actually very well attended. We have also played a bit of a role here, a minor role in the Barcelona hub, since we have done quite a bit of communication work for this particular meeting. Sustainability obviously is something we are working on, and I think I already mentioned quite a bit about that under the SAPEA project, so probably we don't need to think too much about it. We have a number of upcoming events, even for the rest of 22, which are listed here, and even also further webinar events for early next year. We have a number of what I would call synergy projects, and one of them, which is not actually on the slide yet, is we have a big meeting coming up in collaboration with the Leopoldina Academy, which will take place in March. It's a very broad, big physiology, passive physiology symposium. Basically arose out of a editorial I wrote for the American Physiological Society's journal Function, where I sort of asked the questions, are scientists actually sufficiently ambitious? It arose actually out of an exhibition I attended here in Barcelona some years ago, where artists were asking these questions. Are artists sufficiently ambitious? And ambition not in terms of being famous or in terms of making a lot of money, but ambitious in terms of responding to some really important societal questions. So I thought that it's interesting to kind of examine, are we actually sufficiently ambitious within the sciences? And are we just descending into a situation, and I hinted at that yesterday in one of my questions, where we are just kind of processing grants, writing and rewriting grants, and processing masses of papers, and we are into this kind of situation, rather than actually thinking about what are the really big questions. So this meeting that is being funded quite heavily by the American Physiological Society to the tune of $50,000, and also being funded by the Leopoldina, co-funded by the Leopoldina, will try to create a meeting where we don't talk about details of masses of new data, but try really to get the big picture in these things, and we will see how that goes. So that's this cooperation between Leopoldina, Academia Europaea Cardiff, and the American Physiological Society, and again, an example of a kind of synergy. We are not putting any money into it because we have no money, but we have managed to persuade other organizations to put money into it, and hopefully that will also further increase the visibility of Academia Europaea.
Thank you very much, Ole. I see Barbara Boris' hand. Barbara, please. Do you have a question to Ole? I don't know where these hands pop up, you know. So we thank you, Ole, and we go on. To the Wrocław hub. Sorry, no. Wrocław hub. Who is presenting Wrocław? Yes, please. And please stick to the 5 minutes allocated to you.
Good morning. Can I have the slides for Wrocław, please? Thank you. So the Wrocław hub last year came through quite a big change, because we've been moved from the municipality structures of Wrocław under the Wrocław University of Science and Technology. So it's quite a new environment, but it is, I think, more proper for Academia hub, because its environment is a scientific one. So we are, more in place now. So we've developed a new premises where we are located now. We have 2 staff members working full-time. And we are working on the new vision, but we are going to remain focused on the region of Central and Eastern Europe. So we've been working a bit on the mission, and we will be continue those works as we want to find a new channel of our activities, but probably we will remain focused on organizing events, conferences, and congresses to help our environment to be internationalized a bit more. We would like to popularize research and knowledge in these areas. So this is going to be our strategy and our mission further on. Our main focus recently was on providing grants for refugees from Ukraine formerly employed in scientific institutions, and thanks to the generosity of Academia Europaea and the Hubert Curien Fund, we've managed to grant 12 grants for scientists from Ukraine who are staying in Poland at the moment, and further 12 grants will be distributed soon. But we have received almost 250 applications, so the program is going on quite well. We would like to help our neighbors in those difficult times, and we would like to thank Academia for the support. We are planning our Jubilee event because the Academia Hub is running in Wrocław since 2011, and because of the pandemics and then because of the tough situation of our neighboring country, we've decided to delay the events, and now we've decided to have it on April, preferably in the middle of April next year. So the agenda will include the anniversary session, the lectures, and the Young Researchers panel, and it will be accompanied by the board meeting and the local members meeting. Also, we have recently been working on another cycle of events under the title of Anthropocene, From Boundaries to Bonds, Interdisciplinary Crossovers in Knowledge Development. And the projects seeks spaces for mutual inspirations and new bonds between systems, methods, and classes governing science and knowledge. Now we are working on the program. The kickoff event is planned for 8th December this year. It will be conducted in an online form and a hybrid preferably, but we will see how it goes. And the organizers at the moment are going to be our Wrocław Hub and also the Olga Tokarczuk X Center, Academic Research Center, but we are also looking for other organizers as well to join forces on this very interesting topic. This event will be concluded with a conference in autumn next year. And the starting event of this cycle is going to be a lecture of Professor Paul Slovic and Professor Scott Slovic. That will be organized next month. The title is The More Who Die, the Less We Care, Confronting the Deadly Arithmetics of Compassion and the World's Urgent Problems. So this will sort of open the cycle. And also we are planning to have a meeting that is the 6th edition of the event that has been organized by the Hub and the section of film and media of Academia Europaea. So this is the 6th workshop that we've been organizing so far. This one is supported by the Hub, and the topic is mediatization of war. It will be organized on 2nd December, and now I think that the date has been moved on the request of the main speaker, Professor Andrew Hoskins, to 9th December. Also, our university, the University of Science and Technology, last month became the full member of the UNITE consortium. So I have found out that we have at least 45 members of Academia Europaea that are working on the universities that are gathered in this consortium. So we are planning next year, when the UNITE division will be organizing an event in Wrocław, we are going to organize a panel of our academia members within this consortium. So we hope that you will be enthusiastic when we came to ask you to support our initiative of this kind. We are also organizing quite a lot of different events. We are supporting the interdisciplinary seminars cycle of the university, the Scientific University of Wrocław, and we are inviting also academia members to give lectures. And because of the situation on the border of our neighboring country, we also came up with an idea of having another cycle of events titled Refugee Stories, Recording the Unthinkable. And we would like to invite young scholars, but not only young scholars, but mostly focusing on refugee and migration studies, developing methodologies that include the authentic voice of the refugees, not only being the objects of knowledge, but partners producing the knowledge. So we hope for this initiative to end up with a conference presenting the topics that are so current in our reality. And also we would like to remind all the academia members that Academia Europaea Wrocław Knowledge Hub also invites you to be supported by our hub and our work in your initiatives. And we can organize an event, we can help you with your initiatives, we can help with obtaining funds and get all the support that we can provide you as a hub. Thank you very much.
So no time for questions. We proceed to the Tbilisi hub. Please. Try to stick to the 5 minutes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to greet you all here today on behalf of Academia Europaea Tbilisi Knowledge Hub, and I would like to introduce you our highlights on 2021 and 2022 and action plan for 2023. Thanks to the merit of Professor Sirt Koting, in 2019, Tbilisi Knowledge Hub was established, and as a branch of Academia Europaea in South Caucasus, and its priority area is a comprehensive research of diversity. One of the main objectives of the hub is to popularize various fields of science and in the South Caucasus. In order to achieve the purpose of the hub, we conducted our activities in several directions, such as distinguished seminar series of popular lectures, international summer schools, panel sessions, and etc. In particular, I'd like to draw your attention on our distinguished seminar series, The Crossroads, that features presentations from outstanding thinkers and scientists. Distinguished speakers are selected based on the impact of their research on the scientific community. In the framework of DSS, many interesting seminars held in recent years. The Crossroads brought together the humanities, technical and political sciences under its auspices. Therefore, next year, the hub plans to offer distinguished seminars with an expanded subject area. For promotion scientific knowledge, research, and education, Tbilisi Knowledge Hub, in collaboration with the Georgian Association for Applied and General Microbiology, has established a series of popular lectures, conversations on microbiology, which was intended for secondary school students. The lectures were delivered by the leading scientists in the field from different scientific institutions and caused great response amongst biology teachers, as they were given the opportunity to share their latest researches with their students. In order to promote internationally the unique experience of Georgian microbiologists in combating bacterial infections with bacteriophages, which continuously is explored in Georgia for over 90 years, the international conference is planned for 2023, which will be prepared in collaboration with the Georgian Association for General and Applied Microbiology, Federation of European Microbiology Societies, and International Society for Viruses of Microorganisms. Considering the interests of young generation in digital technologies, Tbilisi Knowledge Hub, in collaboration with the New Technology and Innovation Laboratory, GeoLab, held an international summer school, Future Technology Leaders. In 2021, International Summer School was considered for Georgian and European students, but in 2022, due to the ongoing hostilities in Ukraine, for the purpose of expressing solidarity, Future Technology and Peace Leaders was announced specifically for Georgian and Ukrainian students. Moreover, last year we introduced another form of promoting international collaboration, which we call an expert panel. The first such panel, titled "The Fiasco of Federalism in the Caucasus," with the participation of experts from Georgian and European universities, attracted a lot of attention and promoted a recently published book on this subject. In addition to this, we launched a series of panel sessions, which is dedicated to the issues of democratization and European integration in historical and contemporary perspective. The first panel session of this series has already taken place, and it featured important contributions from 4 highly eminent experts in this field. Within the framework of the above-mentioned project, next year we plan to continue the form of this kind of activity and prepare expert panels on several topics, including the dynamics of democratization in the Eastern Partnership countries, the prospects for closer European integration, and the role of the educational institutions promoting and supporting democracy in target countries. Furthermore, Tbilisi Knowledge Hub have started implementation of the large-scale project Galati Academy, the Medieval Center of Science and Education amidst Eastern and Western Christianity. Raising awareness about Galati Academy is one of the objectives of the aforementioned project. In this regard, Scientific Advisory Board of Tbilisi Knowledge Hub and Initiative Group of Scientists conducted session a couple of weeks ago in October 2022 in Kutaisi in west part of Georgia to present the spiritual and intellectual heritage of Galati Academy to the broad European society, and to consider the importance of the heritage for the pre-Renaissance cultural processes.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Yes? Okay. In order to promote the integration of Georgian scientific community with the European academic space and bring it closer to it, several most important ideas and recommendations were revealed at the Scientific Advisory Board meeting. The first one, application for ERC starting and ERC advanced grants on the topic of autism in females and eating disorders. The second one, at the initiative of Professor Zaza Skridladze, who is actually newly elected member of Academia Europaea, and unfortunately he couldn't attend this conference. It is planned to participate in cost actions on the topic sacred paintings and ways of spreading Christian doctrine involving experts from East European countries. The third one, with East European countries, we discussed also possibilities of collaboration in the fields of the life sciences, specifically on exploitation of bacteriophages infecting plant pathogens for combating plant diseases, collaboration with Hungarian colleagues. The last one.
Sorry.
Yes.
What you're telling us is extremely interesting and fantastic, but you need to come to an end very soon.
Yes. Sure. And possible interactions between Budapest and Tbilisi hubs also included the search for new types of antimicrobial compounds. And in conclusion, we would like to thank Academia, European and Korean Initiative Fund for allocating financial resources for Tbilisi Knowledge Hub, thanks to which international seminar, Internal Quality Assurance, was organized at Tbilisi State University with the participation of our Ukrainian colleagues. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, and sorry that I had to rush you. Now we go over to Budapest, and not more than 5 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. May I have the slides, please? Yes, so I'm András Bádi. I've been present on the Budapest Knowledge Hub. Our aim is to stimulate new links, networks of expertise in Central Europe, in the wider Danube region. And it's a new hub. It's just 1+ year, established in last year and hosted by the Hungarian Academy of Sciences. And the last more than 1 year was, collecting experiences and building some kind of basics, what we can do. Our work is organized along these 4 strategical missions or thematic missions on widening European participation, Danube region, methodology of science education, and urban sustainability. I just shortly report what we did in the last our lifetime, our baby lifetime. So in the widening, which co-chaired by Eva Kondros and Gergely Toldi, Eva is here, and Gergely just was awarded yesterday by the Young Academy Europe Andrei Mischke Prize. So of course this is about widening. So there was an ERC workshop organized at Visegrad Countries Academies Forum. There was a webinar for the young colleagues, what you can do in the academy if you want to be active and be involved. And also with the SAPEA and the Hungarian Academy, there was a high-level meeting on cancer screening in the European Union. So within the Danube region thematic mission, with myself and Katalin Solymosi, who was elected as Vice President of the Young Academy of Europe yesterday, we organized the Danube Film Club. We would like to be not only academic, but also to be a little bit transdisciplinary, so get out a little bit from academia. It was about this insect, the mayfly, which is living at the Danube River. It has an extremely interesting life cycle, and there is a nice nature film on that, so there was a film club. We were involved co-organizing with the Hungarian Academy the ISAC report on regenerative agriculture, which was presented in Budapest this April. And finally, the hub was a co-organizer and a sponsor of an international student conference, the Student Conference on Conservation Science, with 30 plus students from across Europe, and we invited Academia Europaea member from Romania to be the keynote for our conference. For the methodology of science, Csaba Play and Eszter Gelman are the co-chairs of the thematic missions, and actually they organized a large meeting last year within the Budapest Knowledge Hub, and this year is the year when the proceedings of this conference is published in this journal Science in Hungary, and it's out in next month. And also there is an upcoming workshop scheduled for still for this year. And finally, the fourth thematic mission is an urban sustainability with Gábor Stepan and Péter Török. I just comment that Academia Europaea Budapest Knowledge Hub really want to involve young generations, so this is why each thematic mission has a senior and a young member as co-chairs. So here Gábor Stepan and Péter Török, who is the young member, co-chair of the urban sustainability. There is an upcoming workshop scheduled for this year on segregation and sustainability mathematical modeling, which will be organized in early winter this year. So actually this was the report what we did in this year, and I think we gathered many experiences and learn a lot how we can operate, and each of the thematic missions with the co-chairs are now planning what we do next year, and there are several ideas how to proceed and boost a little bit our activities further. And there is one big issue ahead us is to submit a cost proposal on behalf of the Budapest Knowledge Hub on water science. This year it was catastrophic environmental conditions. So water and cost proposal on water science, focusing on climate, agriculture, and also on urban environment in this proposal. This is an ambition plan, and we are working on realizing this. And actually, this was my report. Just this is the staff and the contact details. Our director is László Lovász, who I think well known in Academia Europaea, and the staff is there. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you all presenters of the hubs. Item number 7, European Review. I call Professor Alban Kellenbauer, Editor-in-Chief, to give a short report, please.
Morning. I don't have any slides. My name is Alban Kellenbauer. I'm a nuclear and medical physicist working at the Joint Research Center in Karlsruhe, Germany. I was one of the founding members of the Young Academy of Europe and was elected to Academia Europaea in 2018. It's been an immense pleasure and honor to take over the role of Editor-in-Chief of European Review at the beginning of this year. As the first year of my tenure draws to a close, I would like to thank the previous Editor-in-Chief, Theo de Haan, for his support in the transition, which began already in 2021. I would also like to take the time to thank my team of associate editors who managed the peer review process for unsolicited submissions. They're all distinguished members of the Young Academy of Europe. They are Frederick Boylard, historian, University of Ghent; Nevena Dakovic, professor of media studies, University of Arts in Belgrade; Denis Makarov, material scientist, Helmholtz Center, Dresden; Gemma Modinos, neuropsychologist, King's College London, and outgoing chair of the Young Academy of Europe; Silvia Pellicer-Ortin, University of Saragossa, who was part of the team until June 2022. And finally, Erdem Yörük, sociologist, Koç University, Istanbul, and Oxford. This year, as has been the case since 2020, European Review will publish 6 regular issues with a total of about 900 pages. In fact, the October issue will appear either today or tomorrow and features contributions from last year's Building Bridges conference, such as the Gold Award lecture by Ole Petersen and other keynote lectures. The August issue includes a focus on cultural landscapes, which was guest edited by Siegfried Huygens and Dorota Kolodziejczyk. In addition, a supplementary issue on iconoclasm, which was guest edited by Nikita Harridge, will appear in a few days in November. European Review currently follows a hybrid open access model with a pay-to-publish option for authors. Cambridge University Press still plans to transition to a full open access for all social sciences and humanities journals by 2024. In the meantime, we have the option to publish gold open access supplementary issues of 150 pages, which come at a very attractive publication charge of only about 8,500 euros for the entire issue. In closing, I would like to remind the members of Academia Europaea that European Review particularly welcomes submissions from distinguished members from all disciplines. So please do consider European Review as the outlet for your next excellent research article. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alban. Now, time is running. I just briefly highlight some issues that are ahead of us in 2023. So the first meeting of the newly established independent advisory group of Academia Europaea board had its meeting on Tuesday, and this advisory group is delivering strategic advice to the Board of Trustees. So, of course, the mitigation of the impact of Brexit is on the table in case UK and the Commission do not find a solution for UK's adherence to Horizon Europe. We need to increase the membership, not only the numbers, but diversity as well. And I remind you that the call for nominations is open, and it is open till January 31st. The call text and nomination form and instructions are on our website. Please pay attention to diversity when you do nominations, diversity concerning gender and geographic affiliation and career age. Now we have a few minutes for you, Jaume. So do you allow me to introduce you? So after Ricard's leadership of the Barcelona Regional Knowledge Hub, the board has appointed as Ricard's successor as the academic director, Professor Jaume Bertrand-Petit. Okay. He was selected and identified by a high-level search committee, a local one, presided by Genoveva Martí. Jaume has the perfect background for this task. He is an international top scientist in the area of genetics, and he is former vice chancellor of research at the University Pompeu Fabra. He has been director of the Spanish Genotyping Center, and he also was director of ICREA, which is the Catalan Institution for Research and Advanced Studies. We have been told that his directorship was absolutely very, very impactful, and you guided these organizations through very difficult crisis times. And the researchers really are praising you for that. So, dear Jaume, you are most welcome to the club, and we look forward to your new ideas what concerns the Barcelona Knowledge Hub. Thank you very much. The annual general meeting of Academia Europaea is closed. All right.